Hello, and welcome to the Scoundrel Shard. This is a new series where I'm going to analyze one of my own games of Shardfall every day as I try to improve my Shardfall playing. We're playing red deck here against a fellow red deck. Let's take a look at the opening hand. We've got Efficiency Expert, Requisition Order, Plating Specialist, and Strike Pack. Really a very solid hand for the early game, and then the Requisition Order to allow us to accelerate later. I chose to throw back the Strike Pack and hoping to draw something in the 5 to 7 range. I end up with Static Discharge, which isn't bad, but doesn't help us with the Efficiency Expert. Well, we've got two draws to fix that. We get a Bloodthirster right off the bat, which is perfect for the Efficiency Expert, and then using the plating on the Efficiency Expert, so we've got a really strong 2-drop. Move forward pretty aggressively to try and take the high ground. So far I think all of these plays are fine. They come up and ping to 3-1, and that's an interesting thought there. We do see there we could have played 3-1 back here or back here, and that could have given us one less damage. It might be something to think about going forward, is when we're versus a ranged champion, protecting our early drops so we get the maximum value off of that. Let's continue on here. We draw the Hound class mech, which is almost a removal spell more than anything. We do lower the cost of the Bloodthirster. I like the play here of keeping the Plating Specialist back out of range of sight, and then moving the Efficiency Expert 1 square ahead and blocking off line of sight with the champion. I think this lets us get more out of the Plating Specialist, but I think we could have done even better if we had done the early positioning a little bit tighter. So I think we're in reasonable shape right now. We're contesting the high ground. As we both run ranged minions, that's a fairly reasonable thing to do. So they come down off and concede the high ground, and they build an Efficiency Expert, and then also a builder platform off the Efficiency Expert. This is going to allow them to accelerate into a very large creature almost immediately, and it puts us in a weird position. I think this is where I make the crucial mistake of the match. I see the builder platform and think, man, I have got to get in there and stop whatever's about to happen. I throw down the 3-5 here to clear out the Efficiency Expert, and then aggressively move forward with everything. And I think this is the crucial play where I make a mistake. I know that I have ranged minions in my deck. I know that, as we see here, they play the Sharpshooter as a 5-8. 5-8 on turn 4 with range that goes to a 7-8 on the high ground is very scary. That being said, I don't think it's so scary that I need to overreact in the way that I end up going here. So they ping 3 damage onto the Hound class. I draw an Outlaw mech, go straight in and deal 3 damage to their champion, and then run up. And I think this, again, I just get so worried about trying to get back into that back line, but the ranged minion is going to have to come out and get line of sight. I think if I had instead pulled back to like here, or maybe here, I think that would have given me a much clearer path to victory, at least something to take out that 5-8. I'm not running any hard removal in this deck either, which is something I have to be aware of. I do have the Overload, which I can throw on a minion and use as removal. I have the Static Shot for wave clear, but I'm not running the scrap in order to just straight up remove something, and that may be just a straight up flaw in the deck. Continuing on, see, I moved myself completely into range here, and now I've just pretty much committed to an all-out forward offensive. And we put the Bloodthirster back in this corner. I don't know that that's really an ideal spot, but there's not really an ideal spot. It might have been better to wait on the strike or a builder platform to really get that Bloodthirster in a good position. See, now, if I move in, I'm just going to be taking damage from the 5/8 for the rest of the game. Where, again, if I came over here somewhere, I could lure the 5/8 out and be able to deal with it on my own terms. At the same time, we're playing another red deck, and they are accelerating into a large number of minions, and we just don't have good placement to deal with this. We do have the strike pack now, which is maybe an option to look at instead of going full in, which is, I think, again, I got so focused on I have to get back to where I can somehow take care of that, that I didn't play around line of sight very well. And I think that ultimately was my downfall in this game. So, here I move up to try and aggressively use the static discharge in order to deal as much damage to as many things as possible, but I'm not getting enough to do lethal on more than 2 minions. And the 5/4 is just going to take pot shots at me for the rest of the game. That's a 5-turn clock, assuming no other attacks. It's a really tough situation to be in, but I've committed myself to this by moving all the way in, as we've seen here. At this point, they go to start blocking me off. What they want to do is trap me up in this area right here, or even clear down to here. It's anywhere that they can get persistent 5 damage onto me with their ranged minion. We move the Bloodthirster over because we're trying to somehow get the Bloodthirster in range. Actually, we leave the Bloodthirster there because we don't want it to just immediately die to a 5 damage attack. And now we're looking at 2/3/3s in the middle of that, and we already burned our static discharge. So we're playing from behind just this entire match at this point. We do 1 more damage to the 5/3 to try and keep chipping away at it. We're already at 18 health. Probably a mistake right there. We're blocking off line of sight. We probably could have moved into this square right here and then moved up a little bit more aggressive next turn. It probably doesn't really make a difference at this point. We do play the Raptor Reaver Wing as a way to try and clear multiple enemies at once. And to try and take out that 5/3, but it doesn't matter because, as we can see, they can move up to here to get the 7 damage on, and they put the defense matrix to keep us from clearing it out. So now they're doing 7 damage a turn. Even if we take this out, we're already dead. So this turn we try to take out the 2/3/3s with the splash damage. We clear the shield, and then we try to walk out of range, but all they have to do at this point is ping the 4/1 and then walk down and shoot me. This is game over. I desperately tried to draw, and I didn't even put it on efficiency so that I could have drawn some free creatures to block line of sight. I went with the extra health. That should be free creatures to block line of sight to try and somehow get out of the way. It's completely game over here. I dropped the Outlaw Gunner back there, but it's not even worth pursuing at this point. And we see the final hits coming in right here. So overall, the lesson that I took from this game is that I need to not panic and move in the early game just because he's got a big threat down. I think that is the biggest thing that I learned from that, and to abuse line of sight to my advantage, especially in a deck where I know I have flyers, where I know I have ranged minions, and I know I have good value minions, because just because he's got a big guy doesn't mean it can't be dealt with. I've just got to use the terrain better to my advantage. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you find these useful and something that you want to continue with. If you have any questions or if you have any situations you'd like for me to go over, leave them in the comments. Other than that, have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.